So you saw SS14 in the PC game show, and now you're like, hey, that looks pretty cool. And you join, and then suddenly you're bombarded by the most ungodly long job list in the world. And now you joined, and there's some dude yelling about anomalies and science, and there's explosions happening, and then some dude asks to search you, and you don't know what that means, or if they're out to get you, or if they're evil, so you run away, then they arrest you, and then some dude calls you stinky, and then the clown throws a pie in your face, and don't worry, we've all been overwhelmed. Everyone has been overwhelmed. I'm going to explain every job briefly so that you understand when someone says, I'm a cargo technician, what they do. I'm also going to explain which jobs are best for new players, what jobs are more difficult, and how they're difficult, using 4 metrics. To start, let's look at passenger so that I can briefly explain how the system works. Responsibility is the easiest factor to explain. Basically, how much are people annoyed if you're not doing your job? For passenger, that's a 0, because passenger doesn't have responsibilities. Job difficulty is how difficult the job actually is, mechanically speaking. For example, chemist is a mechanically dense job that requires a fair bit of know-how to get around. Whereas passenger, again, doesn't have a job, so doesn't have a difficulty. Roleplay difficulty is a little different. This is how much you're going to be required to talk to other people and interact with them to make your job work. As an example, lawyer is an entirely roleplay job. They have no mechanics besides convincing other people that, no, Your Honor, my client murdered the captain, head of security, and several other important station roles in self-defense. Risk factor is how much your job is going to be targeted by antagonists. Now, this requires a bit of an explanation of what antagonists are. Antagonists are any role that is specifically designated to be able to cause mass station destruction and murder people within the rules. Usually they're given objectives to perform, but they aren't required to follow these objectives. Passengers are obviously a risk factor of 0 because no one needs a person's random ID card with no accesses, but a person like the captain is a very high priority because he has access to the entire station, along with 2 amazing weapons. There are also time requirements for some roles, but most of them you'll just be able to see in-game or have them on their own. I'm keeping them included in the time card just so you know what you have to play to get to a role that you really want to ball out on. And without further ado, let's actually get into the list, because passengers completed, so let's move on. Let's start off with the service department. Most of the jobs in here are pretty self-explanatory and can be generally played by anyone. I'd recommend them if you're new to the game. Speaking of, service worker is the designated learner role for the service jobs. Nobody expects anything of you, just help out the bar and kitchen and maybe do a couple cooking and cleaning, a little bit of your own stuff, and you'll be fine. Just whatever you do, don't ask the chefs where the meat comes from. The bartender's job is to serve drinks in the bar. Self-explanatory. You also have a shotgun loaded with non-lethal rounds, which will allow you to deal with any problem people that come in and try to ruin your bar. That's pretty much it. That's the entire job. It's pretty simple. Look up a guide or something if you want to make specialty drinks. If you like Stardew Valley, you'll love botanist, because all you can do is just grow plants for people. You could grow food plants, you could grow banana peels, you could grow whatever the hell you want. Chem and Cargo will ask you to grow specific plants for them so that they can make chemicals and complete bounties respectively, but all you really gotta do is just grow whatever people want. It's pretty simple. Although if you want to, you can get really funny if you get some mutagen and some swabs, but that's a little advanced. The chaplain's responsibility is to the gods above, or a plushie, or a melon, or whatever other random crap you decide to make a religion out of. You can make a religion out of pretty much anything. You come equipped with the Bible that can be used to heal people and summon your bat familiar. But besides that, the chaplain doesn't really have any responsibilities other than religious responsibilities. But you can do whatever the hell you want. You can make a cult dedicated to WoW if you felt like it. Chef is self-explanatory. You cook food. There's other things involved, such as using microwaves, dealing with knives, mice, and cargo needing orders, but generally you rely on eating food. I recommend having a wiki article open for your first time and probably all your other times, because who the hell actually has time to remember all these damn recipes? The clown is absolutely the most iconic role in Space Station, and for a good damn reason. The clown perfectly encapsulates Space Station's culture and its humor. The problem is being funny for an hour consistently is very difficult. I recommend avoiding this job until you've got a good grasp on the in-jokes that are in this game. Another really good new player job, the janitor. The janitor is self-explanatory. You keep the station clean using your trusty mop and bucket, and you try to avoid getting mad at the crew as they continue to spill crap all over the floor and toss trash wherever. This is actually a very important role with a fair bit of responsibility, despite what the numbers might appear, because if people can't walk around without slipping on things, they will get angry, they'll get irritable, and they'll start causing more problems. Trust me, it happens. The lawyer is actually a very difficult job to perform properly, because SEC often doesn't want to go to court with you over minor offenses and crimes and such. However, you are responsible for keeping SEC from wrongfully imprisoning people. Additionally, this job has a unique risk factor in that antagonists are likely to avoid targeting you specifically due to the fact that you're the only job whose entire purpose is to assist antags in getting out of jail. Reminder, this doesn't mean you can literally break them out of jail, just force SEC to take them to trial or let them go. Usually works. The librarian is effectively just a passenger with a fancy job title. There's no way around it. You don't have a purpose in your job. Nobody ever comes to the library. If you want, you can write books or poetry or announce D&D at the library and run D&D if you know what D&D is, or just run around at the bar and do whatever you want. There's no requirements and you don't actually have a job by technicality, so hey, do whatever you want. Roleplay however you want. It's a role-playing game after all. The mime is the clown, but silent, and can summon an invisible wall. They're just about as difficult to play as the clown, and being funny is extremely hard, especially when you physically can't talk to people. You can of course break the vow of silence in emergencies, but the entire crew will make fun of you for it, which, hey, accomplishes your job, doesn't it? Live out your dreams of being a rock star as the musician. All you do is play MIDI files on your instruments and annoy cargo. That's it. You can do whatever you want, play wherever you want, pretty much. You can also follow the captain around going bwomp, 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 bwomp. Assist the clown with funny music, or do whatever you want. You're not beholden to anyone besides the hop, and no one will really judge you if you're not doing your job properly. Pretty easy job. Have fun with it. Reporter is a station-specific job that revolves around reporting news to literally everyone else. Station-specific means it's not available at every station or in every round. You'll often find reporters asking you to interview highly influential figures like the captain, head of security, other heads, or anyone just involved with anything unique in general, or writing articles, or just spreading complete lies. They spread lies often. But you aren't required to actually report news with the console, so go nuts with it, do whatever you want. Boxer is a simple role. It's station specific, you box people. There's nothing more to say about it. You go up and you punch them. I don't have footage of it because it's self-explanatory. Ya box. Zookeeper is also self-explanatory. You deal with the animals of the station zoo and hope they don't break out and murder people. And if they do, you gotta stop them. I don't have footage of this because Zookeeper is only available on a think-only Oasis, which, not a common role, and I don't know why it's its own thing, but, you know, it's here, I guess. And last in the service department, we have the boss of it, the head of personnel and the first of the command roles. The head of personnel should be running the service department, but more often than not, the service department doesn't really need any intervention by the head of personnel. So, additional responsibility of changing everyone's jobs and all their accesses falls upon the head of personnel. If you aren't doing your job, the entire station falls apart. Mechanically speaking, your job's pretty simple. You just use the ID console. It's not a hard machine to figure out. However, if you get lied to, you get tricked, you get hoodwinked, or just attacked and robbed, someone gets access to the entire station, including security, including engineering, and including the bridge. You are a target by virtue of being a head, especially a head that has access to every department. Be careful. Cargo is often the department that people learn first after trying out some civilian jobs or just straight up jumping right into it. It contains only 2 non-head jobs, one of which just leaves the station and doesn't do much, and the other sits there and takes orders from people and fulfills them. Cargo is either the most important department or the least important department, and whether they get harassed by antags generally depends on the game mode. Cargo technicians are the bread and butter of cargo. You'll be taking orders from every other department, or just the musician looking for more instruments, and have to deal with all of them, while simultaneously completing bounties and selling other random crap to get money. You're doing alright as long as no one's complaining at you that, I've ordered a thing 40 minutes ago and I haven't got it yet. Salvage is such a contested role that I don't have footage for because I haven't gotten the chance to play it, despite the fact that I've queued for it on max every round. Salvage is by far the most isolated role, since they literally leave the station for pretty much the entire round. Your goal is to mine materials, get loot, and make it back alive. You can also do expeditions, which are difficult side objectives that require you to deal with a whole lot of enemies, including dragons. I'd only do that once you're used to it. Cargo technicians and the salvage team, they both have a leader, and that's the quartermaster. The quartermaster's job is to keep his cargo technicians happy and sane by dealing with the immense amount of people constantly asking for crap. Coordinate completion of the bounties, and coordinate your supplies to other departments based on whether or not the department's been nice to you today. Remember, you're not required to give anyone anything if they don't want to be cooperative towards cargo. Engineering's job is to keep the station powered and inhabitable, with a combination of both the station engineers and the atmospheric technicians. Generally, engineering is one of the harder jobs of the game, with every power option that keeps the route going being a little complicated or a little difficult to keep going. Generally, engineers also have a massive responsibility due to the danger that's presented by most power options, especially the Tesla and Singularity. The technical assistant is the designated learner role for engineering. Learn how to fix the station while keeping it powered using the AME, Solars, Tesla, and maybe even the TEG. Whatever you do, unless you have a supervisor who's telling you how to help set it up, don't touch the Singularity or the Tesla. Because, if it gets loose, everyone dies. Station engineer is the non-learner variant of the technical assistant. You're supposed to know what you're doing by this point, and if you don't, good luck. If you don't know how to fix stuff by this point, don't worry about it. Just do your best. And if people yell at you and don't help you out, it's their problem. Because remember, you have to give them power. They are useless without you. Where the station engineer keeps stuff powered, the atmospheric technician keeps rooms breathable. Hook up a mix of nitrogen and oxygen to the blue pipe to keep stuff breathable, and make sure the red pipe's either getting recycled or dumped out into space. Make sure that there's no toxic gas in the air that kind of, poison people. Because trust me, botany's plants will eventually produce it. It's your job to deal with it. The head honcho of the engineering department, the chief engineer's job, is to keep everything working smoothly, just like any other head. It's your job to coordinate your engineers and your atmospheric technicians into a force to be reckoned with that keeps the station running properly and even improves it if you got the time. Just remember, you're to blame if anything goes wrong, despite the fact that it was probably just your engineer sabotaging something because he's evil. Speaking of sabotage, security's entire goal is to keep every department safe. Now, I want to make sure you're aware of this, so listen up. Your job is to keep the station safe. Your job is not to act like a police force. In accordance with the rules, security are held to a much higher standard. These jobs are not meant for new players. If you're a nooblet and this is your first time hearing anything about Space Station, you're gonna have to learn the ins and outs of the game before even attempting to play any one of these roles. If you're still up to the task, the security cadet is the designated learner role for the security department. I would highly recommend pairing up with someone instead of going off on your own, because security is the hardest role to learn. Due to the fact that you're carrying around a baton, cuffs, guns, everything, armor, even everything an antagonist would want, you're a target all the time just for existing. As a security officer, you are the station's first line of defense against any kind of threat. This includes antagonist roles and idiots breaking into engineering to steal insulated gloves. Remember to follow space law, and whatever you do not give the crew an excuse to hate you. It's much easier to work with the crew than against them. The detective has the easiest job to explain. You solve crimes. The problem is there's usually like 60 other players that could be the one doing the crime. Just remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed, that's normal. Remain calm and focus on what evidence you do have. The warden's job is to keep an eye on the prison and the armory, and dole out sentences for anyone the Secofs bring in. I'd recommend having space law open at another tab. Just remember, if someone breaks out of jail, that's an additional sentence you get to give them, and if someone orders arm, you arm without question. It's better to have Secofs out there with guns that don't need them than Secofs out there unarmed that desperately need them. The head of security is the head of the security department, obviously. Your entire job is revolving around dealing with the normal security stuff, and dealing with your officers doing stupid things. If the entire crew is screaming out that security is bad because one of your officers has done something dumb, you need to make a show of firing that officer immediately, because the crew will revolt against your entire department or make your life incredibly difficult, regardless of what the server rules are. Medical is the simplest department. You have one goal: keep everyone alive. At the start of the round, it may seem like, oh hey, nothing's happening, but the second something starts going wrong, you're gonna see bodies pile up, and you're gonna be stressed as hell about it. But remember, there's one way to keep from being stressed as a medical officer. Calm, one patient, one chemical, one problem at a time. Medical intern is the designated learner role for medical, obviously. If you have someone that's teaching you, great. Have fun, get taught, and whatever. If you don't, let me explain a 3-step guide to keeping someone alive. Step 1, scan them. Figure out what damage they have and what chem goes with it. If you don't know what chem goes with it, either your chemist is lazy or you have me as your chemist. And I'm lazy. Step 2, if they're dead, revive them with the defibrillator. If that doesn't work, apply ointments and bruise packs till it does. Step 3, inject them with whatever chemicals they need to prevent the damage. Remember that if they're above 100 damage total, they'll start taking extra asphyxiation damage. So give them epinephrine, enoprovolene, or Dexalin to keep them alive. And after that, there's one last final rule. Never give anyone more than 15 units of something if you don't know what it does. If you give them more than 15 units, you might result in them being permanently dead. Medical doctors does the exact same thing as the interns. There's literally nothing to it. They're the same role. One is just designated for new players so that people can identify new players and teach them. That's it. The paramedic's job is to make use of the medical scanner and find people who are crit and bring them to bed because if they can't walk, they ain't coming to get healed, are they? Beg everyone to turn on their suit coordinates so that you can find them when they die. They will proceed to ignore you and then die alone in mains, and you'll never find them because you don't have their trackers on. Laugh as the entire crew panics that they can't find the dead captain because he forgot to turn on his suit coordinates. Chemist produces drugs to keep the crew alive and for the doctors to use to keep the crew alive again, but from dead people. Chemist fluctuates between, oh god, the crew is out of chemicals, I need to get them chemicals now, to, I'm bored, let's make meth. You'll also have to help a lot because someone will always think it's just so funny to waste all of the chems you spent the last 20 minutes making. Psychologist is a role-playing job that's also station-specific, but this time stuck in the medical department. And if you've played a single round of Space Station or seen anything about it, you'll know that the crew always, and always will be, horrified at least once in the round by organs or dead bodies. As the chief medical officer, your job is to run the entire medical department. Which, yes, stressful job. Almost every other department has some way they can get injured. For the NGs, they can get irradiated, shocked because they're idiots, or set on fire. Security, self-explanatory. The scientists like to explode a lot, and the cargo technicians are mostly fine, except salvage. They're always going to be injured. It's your job to make sure everyone lives. Well, everyone that wants to live, that is. Science's job is to research stuff for the station, deal with anomalies, and make Borgs. You can research generic useful stuff like better power cells for different equipment, better rechargers, or, way down the line in each of the tech trees, you can find stuff like massive inventory-sized backpacks, and the legendary speed boots, allowing you to noom around the halls like a goddamn maniac. You can also revive crew members who are unable to be revived by medbay by putting their brains into Borgs, allowing them to still help the crew and play the round out. The entire point of the research assistant is to learn, not just science learning, but also job learning. I'd recommend tagging along with someone doing artifacts or anomalies, or just learn to make Borgs on your own. After all, it's not like you could die too many times, right? You'll die a lot. You'll die a lot. Scientist is the only role that Sci actually has, although there's 3 sub-jobs within it, being artifacts, anomalies, being the desk guy who hands out the new stuff y'all have made, or just creating and upgrading all the Borgs around the station. Either way, be prepared to get blown up by either artifacts, anomalies, or people who want those things to go wrong. While technically not a part of Sci, the Borg should go in Sci because you're created by Sci, maintained by Sci, and upgraded by Sci. There are several different types of Borgs, ranging from engineer Borgs, basic Borgs, service Borgs, medical Borgs. Any kind of Borg you can think of, there's probably a Borg type that can do that. The reason the roleplay difficulty is a 3 is because how you interpret your laws, which bind what you can and can't do, is entirely up to you. One Borg might declare it crew harm through break into the captain's thing, where other Borg gets told, hey, I need to go to the captain's thing by some random tire, and they're like, okay, sure. It's entirely up to you how you interpret your laws. The whole problem is, it's hard to describe what your risk factor and job difficulty are because you could effectively replace any job, so whenever you get Borg, be prepared to have something unexpected come your way. The research director is the head honcho of the science department, and also generally one of the least involved heads with their department. They can do pretty much anything. Since science often runs itself because most of the scientists have their own, oh, I need to get this for this department tasks available, you can generally just chillax, talk with your scientists, and have a good time. You're still a member of command, so there is still a fair bit of pressure on you, but if you want your first time in command to be a little easy, I'd recommend going for research director. You're probably wondering what my job is at this point. After all, I have access to every department and am running around observing everyone else, right? Well, I'm the head honcho, the big boss. I'm the captain, baby. The captain is either the most stressful or the least stressful role, depending on what's going on at the station at any given time. Reminder, you're still a department head, and command is your department. Your job is to make sure every goddamn department on the station works with each other and works well with each other. Also, you have the biggest target on your back, on account of carrying the most important item in the station, the nuke disc, along with incredibly strong weapons, armor, and, well, all access. Because who doesn't want all access? That is all of the crew roles on any given station. Sometimes there's some missing, sometimes some just aren't filled, but usually you'll have at least one of every role on the station. Also, I'm not covering antagonists, and I'm not covering ghost roles, because this video is long enough already, and you can figure out what those do with your own time. However, if you do want to end up seeing, a video about the different antagonists, Cindy's, Reds, Dookies, all that, leave a comment, leave a subscribe, because I'll be sure to cover it if that's what you all want to see. I would like to thank the SS14 Discord for assisting me in the writing of this, and I would like to thank all the maintainers, moderators, contributors, videos, and Roomhead and Enrico, 2 YouTubers who have greatly inspired this video. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your stay, crew. Glory to Peachburger.